Bale has recently installed the Oligarchy update to Sanctuary, which is a darn shame, cause I was almost a billionaire. Instead, now, in a twisted joke of fate, instead of rich, I have become what some would describe as dead-ass broke. If we were a sorcerer or a paladin, things wouldn't be too bad. An assassin or necromancer would also do fine, but because just doing a no gold run doesn't sound miserable enough, I'm also choosing to pick the worst class to do this with. The Barbarian. Choosing the Barbarian means I don't get access to any cool spells, traps or summons, ensuring suffering in spades. After creating my own bald little man, all I own are the weapon and shield I have on me right now. But bills are piling up, slurping my gold away as well as my sanity. Having been disappointed by capitalism, I opt out of gold, cause that is a thing you can do of course. After all, eating food is just a lifestyle choice for the rich. Unfortunately, the NPCs have not opted out of gold, which means I can't use any of their services. Since I have to get something somewhere, I head into the Blood Moor where my first stroke of luck happens when I encounter a super chest in an abandoned home, giving me my first supply of identifying scrolls and potions. My first weapon upgrade happens in the Cold Plains when I find javelins that promptly run out of quantity a few minutes later, making me realize the first big problem I need to solve this run. I can't repair things. When my items are out of quantity or durability, that's it, they are gone. Luckily I picked up some throwing knives, so for now I don't have to use my bare hands to beat the game. Being this limited in quantity does mean that I have to choose my enemies carefully. I can't just nilly-nally about fighting everything. I need to limit my fights to demons that give me the most weapons or experience. My throwing knives didn't last very long. At the entrance of the burial grounds only have a few left. There is no way I can go and fight Bloodraven like this. After running out of knives, I switched to throwing potions, which lasts me about all of one house. Out of sheer desperation, I start punching the monsters, hoping that they will drop anything at all I can use. And they do, in the form of a hunter's bow, a weapon without durability or quantity. This won't run out. All I need to do is to keep finding arrows, but arrow management problems sound much nicer than playing a punch barbarian. Guess I'm a bow barb until I come up with something better. I sure do need to come up with something though, cause the damage I'm dealing makes me want to cry myself to sleep in a pillow at night. Even something as simple as getting into the Black Marsh turns into a battle of me versus Snotvax and his returned friends. They almost end up ending the run. I hadn't mentioned it so far, but if you're here for the first time, I'll go ahead and talk about it right after you've hit the subscribe button if you hadn't yet. This run is done in hardcore mode, meaning that if I die, all I get is a Deeds of Valor screen and a free sanity check, before having to create a new character to try again. After the fight, I go and equip 2 poison potions on my weapon switch and a chipped topaz into my bow, so I can at least pretend I have some damage. In the Black Marsh, I encounter another abandoned house. To increase the drops from the beautiful super chests inside, I put the player count on max and open the chests. Piles of items drop out, potions, portals, equipment, allowing me to live off the land. This is the dream. My dream quickly turns into a nightmare as I run out of arrows, and to make matters worse, my helm also runs out of durability, so to the ground it goes. With nothing left but 2 little poison potions and a damp pillow, I head into the tower for its riches. Every single floor can spawn the beloved super chests, allowing me to stack up on potions and arrows like a kid at a candy store. The biggest reason I head into the tower is in level 5. The countess drops runes, and I need those to build a weapon. All of them are beautiful, but I had my eyes locked on one, the Tal rune, for its beautiful 75 poison damage. Working my way through the tower, I kept getting surrounded, which is bad for my chances of survival. To combat this, I need some form of crowd control. It's a good thing the Barbarian has access to the best of the best in the form of another skill that is normally overshadowed. Leap, whilst seemingly innocuous, is one of the most broken skills in the game. A simple jump turns into a crowd controlling monster thanks to the knockback it generates upon landing. Every single jump knockbacks everything in its radius. Another tear gets shed into my pillow as a +3 Holy Fire Scepter drops from a rack, making me regret my decision of starting out as a barbarian, but proving the point I made at the start about a paladin being able to simply crush this challenge. The barbarian can't though, the runs are brutal. I'm barely surviving and my gear is like a revolving door as everything keeps breaking and running out of quantity, making me want to toss not only my gear but the game as well on the ground to be left behind. But like with all doors, the rotation of weapons comes to a stop when a hunter's bow with sockets drops. The 2 sockets allow me to put chipped emeralds in them, finally granting me some damage. With my first weapon secured, all I need to do is to stay alive. To do that, I need potions, which you would normally buy from the merchants. But with me cancelling my subscription to capitalism, that is not an option. Instead of giving into common concepts like paying for things, I decide instead to teach myself how to quench my own thirst. To do this, I start putting my skill points into Find Potion, a wholesome skill that allows me to rob corpses to find booze. With a quick fondle here and there, I now have an infinite supply of potions. It takes a million runs, but the countess drops the first rune I need, a Tal rune. I'm going to need at least 2 more of them, but finally things are looking like they are going in the right direction, as it is accompanied by a 3-socket hunter's bow. I was going to look for a 3-socket bow by farming super chests after finding the runes, but thankfully this spares me from having to grind those. The countess grind keeps on going though. Run after run, she drops runes I don't need nor care for. But it's just a matter of time before she drops me the Tal runes I need to move on. A double drop at the end guarantees that Tal's well, that ends well. And now I even have a spare Tal rune for when I need it. With my grind complete, I can move on through Act 1, which doesn't always go smooth, with the goatman coming close to ending the run. But thanks to Leap, I can make my escape, and due to goats not having evolved enough thumbs to open doors, I can just shoot at them from beyond the gate. During my travels, I've made sure to save up arrows. After all that farming, I end up having 8 stacks of them. In Resurrected, a stack of arrows goes up to 500 instead of 250, like in Lord of Destruction. Meaning that with 8 stacks, I have very healthy supply of 4000 arrows, which should be plenty to get me through the game. Making my way through the catacombs turned out to be a long journey, so long even my shoes broke. I found some heavy gloves there as well, that I put into my stash. Besides all the arrows you can see, there are a lot of unidentified items in my stash. I was picking up every scroll of identification I could find, but they just weren't keeping up with the amount of items I was finding. There is an easy solution to this problem, but because I plan out my runs out to the finest of details, spending hours toiling away at the most minuet of minutia, I hadn't realized the blatantly obvious thing I was missing here. I want to hit level 17 before making my way to Andariel. The fastest way to grow in level is by farming the tower some more. It takes a bit more running, but I finally hit it, level 17. With my newfound experience in life, I go ahead and equip my self-made work of art. A tall hunter's bow, making every single arrow I shoot certain death for my enemies. Delivered in 3 to 5 business days. I have to run around the catacombs a bit, but Andariel received her packaged slow death just fine, and as a thank you for my services, she drops me 2 pairs of boots and a large axe. The Axe of Vegmar, a weapon that is meant for the very early game, at least has a bit of damage thanks to admitting it's ethereal. It also has 50% cold resist if I would ever want it. The heavy boots are nothing special, but since my last pair of shoes is growing new life in the catacombs, they are an upgrade nonetheless. Starting out in Act 2, I have a nice supply of town portals that all claim their individuality in my inventory, cause I never found a tome of town portal in the jail or catacombs. It's a problem I wish I had with the scrolls of Identify, but like toilet paper in bad times, I'm always out, making me have to play Sophie's Choice with my item identification. After grabbing the cube, I see a strange old man walking up to me, making me finally realize what's going on. And it's so dumb, it actively annoyed me. Seriously, I almost deleted the character when I realized what a moron I had been. Way back when I was just a little bitty boy living in a box under the stairs in the corner of the basement of the house, I had heard of a little place called Tristram. So I booked myself a ticket there by taking the waypoint back to Act 1, dealing with Freehead Woodfist, and despite never having found a tome proving I can read by opening up the front door to Tristram in the absolutely correct order without fumbling once. But why go to Tristram? Well, that's where Stephen Hibbert is being kept, and once you free him, he tells you about his free use fetish, allowing you to use him whenever you want, to identify items. So after hours of rationing ID scrolls like food behind enemy lines, I now can just walk up to Mr. Hibbert and have everything identified. To celebrate, I bring him my entire stash, make him identify everything and toss everything I don't like on the ground like the hobo I am. Keeping up with my new lifestyle, I also decide to go and rob the smith for the hammer, trading it to Chassi for work without payment. While my lead bow barb isn't exactly the new meta, Chassi recognizes a pity case when she sees it and makes me a perfect +3 Find Potion helm to help drown my sorrows. Back in Act 2, Dark Elder reminds me of another horror I have yet to face. He drops a Berserker axe. I'm working on beating the game with every set, and I'm casually denying the existence of this set for as long as I can, cause using this to beat hell sounds like a fate worse than deeds. The maggot lair proves no problem when all the monsters run straight into my bio rifle, allowing me to defy the laws of physics by bunny hopping my way straight to the Staff of Kings. Or so I thought. Halfway through the maggot lair, a sinister image pops up on the right side of my screen. My stealth is breaking. To at least get some semblance of catharsis from hearing the news, I decide to end the lie that Goldworm the Burrower is telling us all when she claims she is not poison immune. Trying to get as far as I could with the stealth still intact, I decide to push hard in the Claw Viper temple, but after seeing what I've jumped into, I run straight back, but I'm unable to stop the Claw Vipers from taking my stealth. I decide to keep on my tattered rags as a triumph over the forces of the Green Greed, not to mention that I don't have anything else to wear. After laughing at the locals for not being able to walk upstairs, I go and grave rob the place, taking their sacred amulet in the process. In Talrasha's tomb, things get tight on the way to Duriel. I barely make it through a group of burning dead on the way to the altar. Having made my way to the giant demon bug, it was time to reveal my strategy. I have been stacking up every single thawing pot I could find throughout the run. Every single one of these will increase my cold resistance for 30 seconds, and they stack. So if I take 2 of them, I won't feel the cold for a hot minute, and if I overdose on them hard enough, I will never feel the cold again. I run to my stash and find to see that I have a grand total of 1. I have found 1 fucking thawing potion during all of this. Granting me 30 seconds to kill Duriel, I'd better get a move on. Having shotgunned my potion, I dive into Talrasha's chamber. Rushing in, I immediately open fire on the big bad bug, starting his timer on life as soon as I could. It turned out the demon bug was not a fan of this. He lunged forwards with full intent of using me as a punching bag for as long as he could. 30 seconds has never felt so long. After being pummeled and beaten around the arena for what felt like forever, my thawing pot ran out. However, Duriel's life had not. The rest of the fight was spent in a loop of running, hoping my shot hit, running around while the demon's life bar ticks down and repeating that ad infinitum until either of us ran out of life. After having lost count of how many loops of this I've made, Duriel goes down. The Volge he drops is the Steel Goat, which would be perfect if I could hire a mercenary from Act 2. Which I can't, cause of the whole no spending gold thing for this run we have going on. The troubles of the world have made me dive into art again to release my own pointillistic juices like a Vincent van Gogh without a home. I call my new creation the Ral Helm, cause like every starving artist, I'm very deep like that. In the Spider Forest a set ringmail drops. It's the Angelic Armor, which of all the armors in the game is definitely one of them, but at least it's in one piece, which at this point is all I can ask for, having finally found someone who wants me to do something acceptable for a piece of gear. I make my way into the Flayer jungle to press the git bin button, cause Ormus can't be bothered. As a reward for my troubles, I get a ring with some cold resistance that is a nice upgrade to the attack rating ring I was wearing. Another upgrade follows suit when a Tal rune drops to the ground just a few monsters later. I thought about it for a bit because the only other 2-socket armor I had found wasn't exactly in great state, being down to 19 of its 32 durability. But beggars can't be choosers, so I make my second stealth in it. And this has nothing to do with the story or anything, but jumping over the doors in the Flayer dungeon just never gets old for me. I don't know why, but it just makes me giggle every single time. Just look at this burly man with a bow bunny hoppingly bulwarking his way through the upper Kurast. There is such beauty and benevolence in his choice of allowing everyone to keep breathing in there, that even the mighty council bestows him with an audience. We decide to talk about the bills I mentioned all the way back in the beginning of the story before getting sidetracked. After hearing my complaints, they go and tell me to talk to their boss. My disagreement turns things into quite a belligerent discussion that ends with the Travinkel Department Council being dissolved for unknown reasons. The Durance Department decides to launch an investigation into this bald maniac running around in rags like the hunchbarb of the Notre Dame that is rumored to be shooting everyone involved with the Kurast departments. But that's just a rumor that people used to talk about. The allegations seem to have died down recently. During my travels in the old ruins of the Kurast Bazaar, I came across a lightning resist shrine. It being in a public area obviously means I can claim all of it. So when it was time to face Mephisto, I went and gave it a visit again to make sure my lightning resist was solid. I had also managed to scramble together another thawing potion to fix my cold resist. So once again, I had very little time to deal a lot of damage. The meeting with Mephisto meant that I finally had a chance to talk to someone in charge. I used my arrowheads to spear point my talking points about how the system is messed up and Bale should uninstall the Oligarchy Exe update from society. He tries improving my situation by tossing bags of government funds at me and giving me the electricity I had been doing without ever since becoming a hobosexual. However, I was having none of that. I'd rather be miserable than take a handout from the system I swore to destroy. A final arrow flies towards Mephisto, refreshing the poison and draining the final health points from the demon, dropping the stuff he was planning to donate to charity on the ground for me to pillage. Turns out there is nothing in there I want. If Mephisto couldn't tell me where Bale is, I might as well go ask Diablo, who is currently unavailable cause he's working from home today. To find him, I need to pass the Plains of Despair. The problem with that, however, is that they are filled to the brim with souls, forcing me to take them out one at a time before even being able to enter. A big problem starts to rear its ugly head around this part of the run though. Everybody else is appreciating my artwork all wrong, making the value of its damage drop severely. I don't know how yet, but I need to find more damage before I get hard stuck on my journey. The Plains of Despair, however, was not the place to go looking for it, so I ran past the rest of the souls and went on my way. Hephasto told me his boss was hiding in another castle, so like a true homosexual, I tried to take everything he owns whilst renouncing the system everybody else was living in happily. Still sounds like a them and not a me problem. My damage was severely struggling, so forcing Hephasto into communism was not done as easily as I had hoped. But after convincing him to give me the hammer, I divided everything equally and headed for the Chaos Sanctuary, where, thanks to some kiting around while waiting for the poison to tick down, I managed to make my way through the first two of Diablo's assistants without any problems. The Infector of Souls fight got me stuck in bureaucratic limbo, forcing me to run around for my life throughout the entire Chaos Sanctuary, while flicking arrows at the Venom Lords one at a time and hoping for the best. Here is where I have to admit, my damage may not be good anymore. I may have been overvaluing my own creation. Perhaps my opting out of conventional lifestyles has driven me down a path of madness, chasing a demon through bureaucratic hell for nothing but my own selfish desire to convince him of the futility of the empty desire of chasing gold at all costs. Maybe having a system that rewards your efforts and only the purest of grind sets is what it's all about. Nah, that can't be it. Let's go and fight a demon. The Diablo fight is all about persistence. Diablo persists that I should accept electricity and fire into my life to cure all my problems, and I persist that he should take a bunch of arrows to the knee and die of poison. The fight grows to intense heights as doubts about my plan enter my mind. Diablo has a total health pool of 13,818 life, with 50% poison resist to boot. I question if my poison damage can kill him before I die of old age. Cause my bow deals 3 times 75 damage, math happens and it does a total of 226 poison damage over 5 seconds, reduced by 50% for a grand total of a depressing 113 damage over 5 seconds per shot. 13,818 life divided by 113 is 123 times 5 seconds if I hit every single shot, which makes 611 seconds of waiting around for ticking down poison damage, also known as 10 minutes and 11 seconds, or forever. And that is if I hit every single shot frame perfect. In reality, the fight is going to take much longer, and while I would like to die of old age, I'd prefer it to be in my bed instead of the Chaos Sanctuary. But after what feels like forever, with a final shot to the heart, it turns out to not be too late, and the demon goes down, dropping what is the best item I could have ever asked for. A bone snap falls from his clutches. This unique maul is the most coveted damage stick he can drop. I mean, just look at those numbers. I had been thinking about how to pick up more damage for all of a couple of minutes during the Diablo fight, and instead, the kind demon just offers me all the government-funded damage support I could ever need. With its damage, crushing blow and resistances, this weapon is masculine enough to deal a big load of death to everything I swing it at. But, and it's a big but, there is a problem here. The whole reason I went and used a bow at the start of the run was because of every weapon being dependent on durability. That hasn't changed. Also, I'm not enough of a big boy to use the big boy weapon. So I start working my way through Act 5 using my old faithful tall hunter's bow to spare durability on the bone snap. That is the one and only reason why I did that, cause I am a strong boy and can totally wear the bone snap if I would want to. My brain had become a bit less smooth at this point, and I had remembered that you can use the Herodric Cube to repair items, so I go and use a Rel rune to repair my helm. This now means that the final problem I had has been solved. As long as I am capable of killing the countess for Rel runes, I have all the repairs I could ever want. Find item gets me potions, and Hibbert's fetish allows me to identify everything I need. I had done it, I had solved capitalism, and managed to live off the lay of the land, without spending gold. I had evolved from a piece of gold-spending consumerist scum to a fine, strong specimen surviving off the lay of the land, proving to the world that money is just an invention that can be done without. There was only one thing left to do now, rub it in Bale's face. To do so, I go and clear the den so I can respec into a concentrate barbarian to use the bone snap. With my new weapon proving that Diablo is a game about skill and dedication and not about RNG and luck, I start cracking some demon skulls, getting rewarded with some arctic gloves for my troubles. To make sure I keep connecting weapons with demonic skulls, I put an Eth rune into my weapon. Having borrowed items from everyone I encountered along the way, I decided that I should repurpose my Tal bow to make sure my karma bill doesn't become too high. Remember all the way back at the start of the run, when I went to Bloodraven but ended up retreating? That wasn't by accident. Defeating Bloodraven makes one of the rogues join you in your quest, so I go and pay her a visit and welcome Emplisa to my alternative lifestyle. As a welcome gift, I gift her our original handmade damage machine. Together we go and farm the counters to make sure I have enough runes to complete the run, and to make sure things will go smoothly, I craft my next piece of art. A steel. While this weapon looks unimpressive, it has 50% open wounds, allowing me to switch between my bone snap and the saber to make the open wounds tick down, while pretending to be Doomguy with the stick of death. I was loving life with Emplisa, but during our return to the Plains of Despair to ask Isual some questions, Emplisa told me she missed basic human comforts and not fighting for her life 24/7. And with that, she left me. I tried calling her, but there was no answer. She was gone. Oh well, just like paying bills, consuming food and basic comfort things like having a roof over your head, contact with other humans is overrated. This is a solitary lifestyle for the strong. If you are weak like Emplisa, you're out. Having snorted that entire bag of copium, it's time to deal with my newfound level of frustration in the healthiest ways I could think of. My first answer was to drink myself to death. To do this, I needed as many full rejuvenation potions as I could find while spending my time looking for single woman on a cold spell. To get them, I gave the Horadric Cube its most important task yet, a task like no other that will save my sanity. I started using it to make moonshine. The second answer to my problems was a simple therapeutic technique that has been proven to work for millions of years. Bludgeoning a bunch of people to their death while pretending it's for a good cause. These men had done nothing wrong to me, but hey, they aren't complaining, so I'm sure it's fine. There is still resentment in my bones, and with only one way to get it out, there is no other option but to press on. To make sure I've got what it takes to finish the run, I check my stats and gear a final time. I'm level 27, my resists are solid, my gear is mostly in one piece, and I've specced into a proper concentration barb by putting points into battle orders. My mastery, all the 1-point wonders and concentrate itself. Nothing is going to stop me from convincing Bale about the wonders of a moneyless society. He had some closing statements with some serious truth and weight to them, almost ending my need to lord my destruction and general moralistic superiority over him. But as Bale goes down, I laugh in his face. From now on I will have a dry pillow, for I have bested capitalism. With victory at hand, I press the button to stop oligarchy.x.